So let's get down to business. That was terrible. That was terrible. My mom didn't even watch the finale with me because she thought it was so bad that she was like, I'll leave it. I don't need it. I don't need to waste my time. This double feature thing built up so much to be so great. It was only great literally when Macaulay Culkin was on screen, and he honestly isn't that great of an actor. It's hard. It's like, y'all just need to accept that some of your faves are only good because they did something that you liked, and stop giving them credit where it's not due. I think he can be on American Horror Story. I would love to keep seeing him, but he is not at the same caliber as what we've been expected to see. Juxtaposed to freaking Sarah Paulson, who plays like 9 different characters every season on 3 different shows. You need to step up to the plate. Sorry, dude. But I love Macaulay Culkin. He's cool. Literally, I hated this double feature situation. Why didn't he choose one story to tell and then go off of that? It was going too much back and forth. My mom literally said this was on the caliber of American Horror Story Roanoke. And that's pretty bold words because she did not even watch American Horror Story Roanoke. I just told her how bad it was. If you want my review of all of the freaking seasons, link is in the description to that. Link is also in the description to part 1 of this video because this is talking about the second part. The first one was talking about Red Tide. Death Valley was trash. It needed to decide what it wanted to be. It was kind of annoying to keep seeing black and white over and over again, going back and forth. You either should have left it back then with Dwight D. Eisenhower, or you should have left it in the beginning, in the front. Like, okay, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. For those who have seen my video on all of the American Horror Story seasons ranked from best to worst, like, you know where I put Roanoke, you know where I put Coven, you know where I put Asylum and Murder House. So, you know what the difference between all the good ones and all the bad ones? It's literally 3 things. 1, beginning, middle, end. Beginning, middle, end. There needs to be a beginning, there needs to be a defined middle, and there needs to be an end. 2, people that we can invest in and care about what happens to. 3, a story that can fit into the canon. Like, literally, that a freaking Murder House started it all. Murder House was the pushing point. Asylum had nothing to do with Murder House. We just set the precipice for things that are supernatural to occur, which leads us to Coven. Coven made Freak Show plausible. Those are the best ones. The best ones in the beginning, and I just really think you just fell off. They don't have to rely on something else, but I was hoping to see more Asylum connections. I was hoping to see, because Asylum was one of your best. Ryan Murphy, I am speaking to you right now in this sentence. Asylum was one of the best seasons ever of American Horror Story. Cult, Apocalypse, Roanoke, no one wants to see that crap. Like, look at the good ones and then try to do that again. If you are having such a hard time, I actually thought that Red Tide was really American Horror Story-esque, and then it went terrible in the last 2 episodes. Literally, when Sarah Paulson went away, it was like, no, we weren't invested in Flintwood, Rockwood, whatever your name is. You're cool. You're really cool. You did a really awesome Dandy Mont. You do everything awesomely. You cannot single-handedly keep a whole story in line. And Angelica Ross did a good job, but they didn't give her enough to do. Yes, we saw her a little bit more later down the line, but they didn't give her nearly enough to do. And I already knew she was an alien. I already clocked she was an alien, okay? I already clocked that the black pills were made from the alien blood or something. I already clocked that it was supernatural. What I was hoping to also clock was a connection very closely to Asylum other than Alma, the name. Literally, you could have had not a single same person with the same name and actually did some connections. It would have been better. Like Ryan Murphy. I think when you got popular, you decided to just lay back and say you didn't have to do twice as hard. Like that's what Game of Thrones did. Game of Thrones were like, oh, we showed all the nipples and all the nudity in the beginning. We don't need to do anything really. We got y'all in. Y'all are waiting for more nudity. And it's really interesting because on a side note, I will do this freaking video one day when I feel the need, when I feel the energy, when I have the spirit. Merlin has a lot of issues. When I tell you it's got a lot of issues, you're going to hear them all from me. But it is better than Game of Thrones, and I suggest you go watch it anywhere you can. I do believe it's still on Netflix. If you have a VPN, you can change the location and get it somewhere if it's not in America. But honestly, Merlin, the only reason why Merlin was looked at as lesser than Game of Thrones, despite Game of Thrones taking nearly half of its entire cast from Merlin. Literally watch Merlin from beginning to end, from season 1 to season 5. You will find about 50 freaking Game of Thrones characters in Merlin, which happened before Game of Thrones, just to let you know. It was a cool story. I'm not going to get into it here right now, but the only reason why Merlin was seen as lesser than Game of Thrones is because there was no nudity and no blood until the last season. Literally, it was like BBC America. They were trying to do it just for kids, even though there were a lot of adult content there, and they you could tell it was a family show. All right, it was a very, very, very family friendly show. No blood. Someone would it was literally looked like a play for a while. CGI was trash. I'm not going to get into it, but yeah. Back to what I was saying. Death Valley was dumb. It was dumb. I didn't like the season finale. It's dumb. Nothing. I love that Marilyn Monroe was in this. It was cool. And I love how they actually did, because I do believe she was killed. I don't believe she committed suicide. I think it was set up. I think it's interesting that he loves to put these things and connect it to the real world. But you can't do that and at the same time destroy your world. You know what I'm saying? It's too much like our world. Therefore, Red Tide's finale, where LA is in a blaze, which had nothing to do with the riots or anything. It'd be one thing if you connected it to riots or something, but you didn't even connect it to a time. It was in 2021, and that didn't happen in 2021. That happened a very long time ago, or I don't remember exactly what time or day it happened, but I know it wasn't 2021 because LA is still standing. And it's just interesting that you do that sometimes, but then you drop the ball on other times. It's kind of really annoying, and it really needs to stop if you want us to stay here. Because I'm someone who watched from Murder House. I'm here. I'm still here. A lot of people dropped off when Cult happened, and I'm kind of really concerned as to why. Because you did literally choose a side. You chose a side, and for the most part, I'm glad you decided to choose a certain side, for the most part. But I kind of left when Roanoke happened. I kind of was on my way to leave when Roanoke happened. And that was before Cult, I believe. And it could have been so much, especially since I am really close to Cherokee roots. My great grandmother was Cherokee from the literal tribe. Not just, I'll poop turkey like all these redneck hillbilly hicks said to get some land from somebody. I got Cherokee blood in me. So I was really disappointed in how you decided to treat, especially with the witch. Oh my goodness. Why didn't you get someone who was Native American to play the witch? Why did it have to be Lady Gaga? Did she sing? Did she do anything that could have been done by somebody else? She didn't bring nothing else to the table except her looks. That's all she did. You could have gotten someone Native American to be the first coven witch, and that would have been amazing. That would have been awesome. But no, like I said, you have a colorist problem. You have a colorist problem, and you have a race issue. You do, because there's barely anybody else. There's 1 to 2 or 3 ethnic people, and it's okay, light skinned or barely there, or has nothing to say. Literally. Get it together, Ryan Murphy. If you want to know my opinion about American Horror Stories, that is also linked in the description. But yeah, this is terrible. Death Valley was garbage. Most of the good parts were with Sarah Paulson. She's literally, if she decides to say, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore, you have lost your show. Because Jessica Lange was the person who was keeping your show up. And that's why all of them, from Murder House to Freak Show, were top tier. They were top tier. I'm sorry. Lady Gaga could not carry Hotel. She could not carry Hotel. Sarah Paulson, she couldn't carry Hotel because it wasn't about her. Most of these are nearly, really eerily close to her, except, what's it called? Murder House. She was kind of like a side story person. She wasn't a main character, really. But that's the problem. You can't just rely on two people to run your freaking show. You need really good writers. And I'm a writer. And if you need a writer, I'm here. I've got 3 ideas of a new season you can make and everything that goes into it. I just need to be on the payroll, dude. I'm not going to speak a word about it for free. I ain't nobody's intern. I just need an email. I just need a message. I need a phone call. And then I'm there. And then I will also recommend you put some ethnic people in there. Gay, straight, bisexual. I don't give a darn. Dark skin. Thank you. Dark skin Asian. Thank you. Dark skin Hispanic. Thank you. Yes. Islander. Yes. Thank you. Native American dark skin. Yes. But what I will say about American Horror Story Double Feature Part 2, Death Valley, that Richard Nixon, he tried his whole life. And I can give him that. Literally, I don't know why, but every Richard Nixon I've ever seen on TV looked very similar to him. But this guy just doesn't. He just doesn't look like him. He looks like someone who's trying to be him at Comic-Con. He does not look anything like him, but he sounds exactly like him. The dude that's playing Clinton in American Crime Story, oh my goodness. Y'all got the best. Honestly, if they can't look like them, the least they can do is sound like them. And that's a good job. I can give you that. I can literally give you that hands down. As long as they sound like them, if they don't look exactly like them, I'm not going to complain. I really don't care. The Dwight D. Eisenhower, I don't know what Dwight D. Eisenhower sound like, but I know 100% certain a man named Dwight D. Eisenhower ain't going to sound the way that this dude sounds. I'm not going to look it up because I don't care. And I do remember a few things that Dwight D. Eisenhower did that you kind of just glaze over and act like, oh, let's talk about the aliens, let's talk about the racist legislation that was occurring around his presidency. I see how you just slid away from that. That's interesting. But literally, this dude looked like Dwight D. Eisenhower. I could say he looked like him, but I don't think he would sound like him. I don't think he does. This dude, they gave him a very protagonist type voice. And I know why. I just think it's really funny that we're going through all these presidencies during Death Valley, and at the same time American Crime Story is going on. So it's we can see aliens and stuff going on, and then you kind of get confused between the two. When you're watching them, you're like, okay, there's no aliens in this one. Oh, it could be aliens. It's just funny. I think it's really funny. And I get more enjoyment from switching from American Crime Story Season 3 and American Horror Story Death Valley more than anything that I got from both parts of Double Feature. And that's a problem. So I think Ryan Murphy needs to literally stop making American Horror Story and stop making American Horror Stories as well. Because, if you've seen my video on that, you know that it's trash and tragic and garbage and it doesn't need another season. He just needs to stop with the American Horror Stories, all of them, and relax. He needs to relax and figure out what he wants to do with this, because he's making a universe. And when we expect continuity, he looks at us and then goes to American Horror Stories and then pretends fans are wretched and ruthless and they don't rest until he's uncomfortable and upset. when in actuality, we just want continuity because you've made this series and you expect us, the consumer, to consume. The least you can do is have some continuity. Like, why are we here? What did we gain from Red Tide and freaking Death Valley? Like, remember when Tuberculosis Karen or whatever that girl's name is, Typhoid Mary, I don't know what her name is, but straight up, she drew that thing by the ocean and then she went into the ocean and we never got to see what was the painting. I thought it would have something to do with Death Valley, but we never know. And then, oh my goodness, with the politics in Death Valley, I think it's really interesting because it's just like aliens. Let's blame it on aliens. Why did we participate in the Vietnam War? Aliens, rather than America's insatiable thirst for other people's resources, other people's time, other people's land. Like, aliens. It's just aliens. Like, okay. That's annoying to me. It's whatever. Just without even taking context into consideration, which is something that we can never do. From a standpoint of just a watcher of the show, that's okay. That's fine, but I don't know. I just feel like he needs more people in the writer room that don't look like him. Oh my goodness, Cody Fern did such a good job as being like that alien robot dude. He walked like, oh my goodness, I may have to do a video of like the heavy hitters of American Horror Story and the low hitters of American Horror Story, because he is a high roller heavy hitter. He's still a rookie. He's been in like a few, but he needs to get with it before he is up there with Sarah Paulson. I was super happy when Ryan Murphy made it to where men and women were pregnant, because it's like they went through the same experiences and all that. Like, honestly, it would have been really terrible if it was just a bunch of women being like cattle, basically. Deep Throat is Mamie Eisenhower. But yeah, the season finale was garbage. There were only a handful of people who actually gave me like a decent performance. The rest of them, fodder. Leslie Grossman usually brings her A game to wherever she is placed, but I would not consider her one of the heavy hitters. Her accent kept going in and out. They should have just got someone who had that accent and not used her. But yeah. Angelica Ross was so good, but I hate that they made the dark-skinned transgender woman into half alien basically the entire time. Like, okay, whatever. I'll let that slide. But if that keeps happening, we have examples to show pattern of behavior. But overall, so Red Tide got a 3 out of 5. For this one, it's a 3 out of 5. It's a 3 out of 5. I really do believe that it's a 3 out of 5. I would give it a 2 out of 5 if not for the fact that it's very comical that American Crime Story impeachment trial is going on at the same time as this when we're going back and forth. I thought that was hilarious. Literally, that's the only reason. If it was under any other circumstances, this would be a 2 out of 5. But it's a 3 out of 5, which means it's a 6 out of 10. American Horror Story Double Feature gets a 6 out of 10. That's it. I really have nothing else to say. If you want to know more about my opinions on each season, like I said, link is in the description to my ranking of all the American Horror Story seasons. If you want to know my opinion about American Horror Stories, link is in the description to that. And if you want to see my Red Tide video, link is in the description to that. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys watched the first one before you watch the second one, because yeah, done.